100%. Yeah. So basically, I guess I can start to provide a little context. So for me personally, I teach conversational email marketing. And so I love conversations in general. And so when it comes to like how I teach and how I do all the fun, really fun, it's just a conversation, right? Like it's a conversation that we're having as if we were sitting at a kitchen table and we were doing your email side by side. And so feel free at any time, if you guys have any questions, you're more than welcome to pop off mute. You can interrupt me. You can go through the process of waving me on down, say something in the comments. Like I'm here for all of it. Because I know for me, like I have I'm like 95% sure I have ADHD. And so for me, like I'm very much so like I'll forget my question by the time I get to the end. So again, feel free to drop anything. We can stop, we can recover, we can go over anything. Like this is completely like we have some points that we're going to go over specifically today. But nothing's off limits. So if there's anything that you're like working on, anything you have questions about, anything you're struggling with, like everything is welcomed here. And I'm definitely more than happy to go over all of that with you guys today.
Thank you. And I will, in 60 seconds, I'll introduce you.
Okay, perfect.
We've got the best of the best here. We have a great group here. These are people I've known for years and work with in various capacities, and they're all pretty awesome.
I am here for it.
And we are recording this in case you missed something or forget if somebody asked a question, or there are people who aren't on here who will need this, so we'll record it for them.
Perfect. Yeah, no, that works perfectly for me.
Okay.
The notification was like perfectly on time.
Somebody's trying to join and can't jump in, so let me send her the stuff.
Perfecto. We can definitely do that.
Okay, there we go. Okay, there's some people. Let me let people in and then we'll get started.
Awesome. I'm trying to catch up on my hydration this morning. I was like, okay, hold on. We got to keep going. We got to keep going.
Okay, people are coming in. As soon as that slows down, we'll start. Okay, you got a good gallon of water with you?
All the water.
Okay. Okay. Don't drink so much that you can't finish.
I know, right?
No potty breaks, Ashley. Okay. All right. So everybody, thank you so much for coming. I am so excited to introduce Ashley DeLuca. I've been working with Ashley. I don't know, what has it been, a year now, Ashley?
At least, yeah.
Yeah. And Ashley has taken me out of the dark ages, and she does all my midwifery emails. So if you've gotten a midwifery email, that was Ashley. And one of the things I love about her emails is that her style is conversational. They're real emails, like from a real person, and we go over them together and we do this all together. But I'll have these email sequences sent out by Ashley, and people will respond like I wrote personally to them, which is so awesome because I want to be able to write personally to everybody, but I can't. But I love the responses. I know people sometimes contact me and think they're bugging me. You're not bugging me. And that's why one of the reasons I love Ashley's emails. Also, in terms of the marketing that I've done for midwifery, and I don't, my program is different, but in terms of the marketing that I've done for midwifery, Ashley is the biggest return on investment I've had. Okay. She does a great job, and it's not spammy at all, and she's just fun. You can see she's fun, easy to work with. So I'm going to drop it on her. And Ashley, this is a group of just the cream of the crop breeders. They have excellent programs, very ethical, and then a number of them, or most of them, also sell via affiliate links and things like that. So if you want to mention some strategies for that, that might be helpful as well. It's all yours. Take it away.
Oh my gosh. Well, thank you so incredibly much. I am super incredibly excited. For those of you guys who are just popping in, at any time, you're more than welcome to interrupt, unmute, ask questions. You can drop them in the chat. For me, it's really incredibly important that you guys walk away with exactly what you need in terms of with anything that you're struggling with email, or if you're like, I'm just getting started, but I was super unclear about this specific piece, like no question is a dumb question. Like, please feel free to pick my brain, ask any questions. Like, I am totally here to help. So today we're going to be going over specifically 3 different kind of key areas. We're going to be going over like email platforms. And we're also going to be going over the kind of 5 email types that I use within a lot of my clients' businesses. And so we're going to be going through them specifically. I mainly write for people who are like service-based businesses. And so you guys are just a little bit tad different. So I'm going to adapt those email types to specifically fit for affiliate links and also within like what kind of businesses that you guys run. So that way it's like super hands-on and like it coincides. So it'll work perfectly. And then the last piece is subject lines. So there's kind of like 2 different pieces to email marketing, specifically for your business. There is the transactional side, and then there's more so of that transformational side. And so the transactional side is definitely more so of kind of the idea of just essentially writing emails that are, providing information based off of the customer journey that we're creating. And then the transformational side is more so of the side of like, okay, cool. We're going to actually provide content and value, and we're going to give and we're going to serve. And so within both of these, like I mainly focus a lot more on like the transformational side of email marketing as opposed to the transactional side, but the transactional side is still super incredibly important. So we're going to be going over that as well too today. So first and foremost, I'm very much so like conversational based. So I will be pulling up a Google Doc like halfway through, but feel free, again, if you have any questions, I'm here for all of them. Okay. So for email marketing platforms, first and foremost, and specifically, this is something that I get a lot of questions about because what ends up happening is with email marketing platforms, there are just so many of them out there. And along with it as well, too, email marketing and as a whole can definitely be like super incredibly confusing. And so for me, like I usually, generally speaking, focus on emails that are not necessarily like what you would see like Target or TJ Maxx or even like Costco or Sam's Club sends out, where they're more so like those kind of like visual ads, essentially, like as like you would get like in the newspaper back in the day. It's definitely more so of like actual text written emails that look like they just came out of your inbox to your subscriber. And so that personalization, that text appeal is a lot of times what I'm looking for when it comes to an email marketing platform. Because within an email marketing platform, first and foremost, it's super incredibly important to have one, mainly because you can't just send emails out of your Gmail account to all of your peeps. It works well when you're sending your emails out to like a specific group who has opted in for email updates to you. So for an example, you have a list of people who have already, put down a deposit for a puppy. Like it would totally be acceptable for you to follow up with somebody via email because you've already like created that relationship and consent. The things that I'm talking about are definitely more so of like on the marketing side of things. So this is where you're looking to bring more people into your world to be able to, purchase from your next litter of puppies, or to be able to, for your affiliate side of things, being able to follow up with people who have purchased from you and all of that really good fun stuff. So it's like the marketing side as opposed to like the kind of normal conversations that you would definitely have like within your Gmail account. So when it comes to platforms, as I mentioned, there are tons and tons and tons of different platforms out there. And one of the biggest things that I always recommend is picking a platform that works best for your business, and that also works best for your brain as well too. And so what I mean by that is, for the majority of you guys, you don't need a huge, like super duper expensive over the top email marketing platform system to be able to, fully and effectively go through the process of reaching out to your customers, to reach out to your puppy families and all of that really fun stuff. You can easily use something like ConvertKit. I know that's like what we use, G. That's something that, I know some of you guys have also tried out. And that is a great platform because it's very simplified. It's based around the idea and concept of keeping things as simple as possible without going through the process essentially of trying to do, 8,000 different automations or 8,000 different sequences. Or if you're like, oh my gosh, I don't even know what any of that stuff is, like, it's very much so like all of the tech that goes with it. So simplifying the tech piece of things. One other platform that I'll like mention that, I have also used with some of my clients is MailerLite. MailerLite is the free option that you can easily use. You can create automations, you can do basic groups of people, and you can really just allow for you to be able to really hyper focus on keeping things literally as simple as possible. So unlike MailChimp, MailChimp is very complicated. It does work well for some people's brains, and like it does not work well for my brain whatsoever. And I work in like all sorts of email marketing platforms. MailerLite is definitely like another really good one that's similar to ConvertKit, but it's totally free. So MailerLite, ConvertKit, those are definitely like my two favorite options in terms with email marketing platforms. And each of them just operate just a little bit differently. So feel free as you're like getting started, as you're getting going, like feel free to go through the process essentially of just trying it out, seeing if it works well. If you're like trying to create something and you're like, oh, well, I want to do something like specific to this, and you can't create that, then you know that it's not a fit based off of your business needs. So that's the first thing. Now, when it comes to your organization of your email marketing platform, a lot of times we just want to jump in and send that first email. You're like, okay, cool, sign me up. Like, I'm just going to go through the process of sending out this email. And what ends up happening is we send out emails, but we don't have any organization to understand who we're sending the emails to. So one of the best things about email marketing is you can go through the process of organizing all of your contacts, your segments, your groups. You can start to really understand your people on a deeper level, as opposed to just kind of like doing the spray method of just like, we're going to just send this email to everybody on my list and we're not going to pay attention to who. We can actually use segments and tags to be able to go through the process of better understanding who we're sending the email to, so we can hyper focus or target who we're talking to. So essentially the easiest way to do segments and tags within your email marketing platform is your segments are fueled by your tags. So the way that I look at it is your tags are kind of like up at the top. They're kind of like your main two buckets, essentially. So if I had like two pails, like one of my pails would be customers, and then my other pail is going to be non-customers. Now, the reason why I separate the two is not because I like one group more than the other, because one gave me money over the other. It's simply because the language that I'm using is going to actually be a little bit different. Somebody who's already given me their credit card, who has already purchased from me, is somebody who trusts me already. They already have gone through the process of understanding who I am, what I do. They're enrolled into, my mission and how I work and all of that really good fun stuff. As opposed to someone who isn't a customer yet, maybe they're still like on the fence. They still haven't decided. They're kind of like, I just don't really know. And so within that language is going to be entirely different. Now, when it comes to like marketing and like all that really fun stuff, there is like that marketing piece as well within like being able to just target one group over the other when you're doing like sales, specials, this, that, or if you want to, depending on how your business works, it may make sense for you to separate the two and for other reasons other than just language. But generally speaking, it's mainly because of language is why you would separate the two. Now, underneath of those buckets is where tags come into play. And so depending on your platform is going to depend on like exactly what the actual like language is, but usually it's segment and tags is what you're going to see, or something very extremely similar. And so when it comes to tagging, I like to tag based off of actions. So specific actions that you could potentially go through the process of tracking are people who have clicked on over to your like application form, to be able to, apply to get a puppy. It could be, if you do like calls for any reason, like it could be people who are interested in booking call, who have clicked over to do that. You could track people who have shown interest and gone over to your website, or there are so many different things that you can track that will then allow for you to be able to see the people amidst everybody else. So like, let's say you have like 500 subscribers, for an example, and you have 50 people that are tagged underneath this interested tag, like, because they tagged over to your website or your application form. Those are all people who have like raise their hand, like they're kind of like, oh, I'm like interested. So they want to go check it out. Those are all people you could follow up with. Those are all people that you could send an email to and say, hey, I saw you went over to my application, but you can see that they didn't, actually fill it out. You could definitely follow up with them and say, hey, I seen that you, checked out the application. I just wanted to follow up and see if you had any questions, any problems filling it out. any of that really good fun stuff. And what that does is the more you can take your big bucket and make it smaller and target based off of that, the more you can personalize those campaigns. That's where the gold is. That's where you can really start to make a real impact within your email marketing and make it a lot easier for you to be able to, again, make them feel like, oh my gosh, this email was written just for me. So that's where that comes into play within your tags. And you can also use tags to track what people have purchased. You can use tags in order to be able to track not just purchases, but also to tracking, specific products that maybe they received or have purchased from you. So depending on like how much information you receive from your affiliate commission or like from your affiliate, like you can then look at that and say, oh, okay, cool. They purchased this one. I'm going to upsell them on that one. Like again, so much that you can do that I understand it can get overwhelming and all of the things. And so what I recommend starting out with first is once you've gone through the process of like signing up for an email marketing account, you have your tags and your segments put together. So that way they're there and ready to go. Honestly, the very first thing is to set up a automated welcome sequence first and foremost. So that automated welcome sequence is intentionally designed to basically onboard people into your world. So that way they understand who you are, what you do, why you do it, and being able to provide them with those first additional steps in order for them to be able to move forward with whatever it is that the end goal is. And so usually how I'll do a welcome sequence is they are 8 emails long. And the industry standard, like across the board, is usually 5. And the reason why I do 8 is because it allows for additional time to follow up and also transition your person from where they're at in the welcome sequence to your next thing. And so it may seem like, oh my gosh, this seems really silly to like start working on all these emails when you're like, I want to get subscribers on my list. We want to make sure first and foremost that there's a place for people to go. There's a journey that they can start going on before we start pushing them into a email marketing platform where truthfully, we just let them sit and we don't email them. And maybe you have, and you're just like, oh my gosh, what would I do? We can totally talk about that. If that's you, if you're like, oh, I have subscribers, but I haven't emailed them. But using a welcome sequence will help prevent that. And so 8 emails long. The first email is going to be like your welcome based email. It's going to really focus on making sure that we congratulate them on taking the first step of whatever that may be. So whether it is downloading a freebie, getting on your puppy wait list, signing up for, excuse me, guys. Signing up for like a free download, whatever that is, like that's where we're going to first start. And then from there, this is when we go into introducing who you are, what you do, and all the things. And then after that, it would be moving them over into a social media platform. So one of the best things about email marketing is they can actually be drove into other parts of your ecosystem. So the way that I view email marketing is kind of the center of what we all kind of do. This is kind of the home base, essentially. Because within this, what happens is we can then shoot people over into Instagram or to Facebook or to an application or to a call or, an affiliate link. Like you can move people however you want with the right journey, with the right intention. And so when you have that welcome sequence, that's when you can start first shooting them out somewhere else and start directing their attention. So that way they start to get that omnipresence from you to be able to get updates and all of that really good fun stuff. Now, the emails after that, depending on what you shared in the first email, I always follow up. So, when as a busy mom with a 3-year-old, follow-ups are great for me because a lot of times, like I'll download something for free. And the first thing that I always say to myself is I'll be like, I'll get to that later. Like, that's totally fine. Or, if I am like, oh, okay, cool. I got the link scheduled so I can like go to book a call. Yeah, I'll do that later. Like, I got this. Like, I'll write down my to-do list. Reminders are always great. And so coming back and reminding them saying, hey, like, yeah, you joined the wait list, but you need to fill out this application. If you haven't already, please do so. If you have already, well, great. Thank you so incredibly much. Like you can use that as a way to be able to remind them and pull them back into that free, like that kind of first initial touch point that you had with them to ensure that they actually do it. And so moving from there, depending on, again, like, there's tons of different ways that you can do this in terms of with these next couple of emails. usually what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to prepare my person to become my next best customer. And so the best way in order to be able to do that is to consider what tools do they need, what resources can I give them, what things can I potentially shift their like beliefs on, like whatever that looks like for you, like in terms of with that initial first point and where you want to take them. Those next couple of emails are all about those things. And so if it was for an affiliate product, for an example, I would specifically focus on educating them more so around the difference that the product makes, why it's so important to be able to invest in this, looking at, preparing, like, how do you use it? And what is the transformation that comes from that? That is a really simple and easy way to be able to move people on through to get to the end goal of like actually purchasing the product. Now, when it comes to like puppies, for an example, you can do something very extremely similar. Like you can provide, tips and tricks in terms of with like when you have your first puppy, providing a little bit of like those expectations and like what it looks like and how you can like have a happy, healthy puppy. Like there's so many different things that you can write within those kind of in between emails that I always recommend asking your audience. Like if you're looking for like the easiest way, ask your audience questions, ask them, what is it that you can specifically help and focus them, and help create or help them teach or learn or help bridge that knowledge gap in order to be able to get them to that end goal. And so 2 or 3 of those before you kind of move into that first initial like sales email post. And for a lot of you, you may not need to necessarily have a sales email. It may just be another like, I don't really need to sell, but like I can like easily add more value and then link on over to my wait list. Totally okay. Like this is the best part about email is that you get to design the journey and your people best. So you may be like, they probably wouldn't like an email about that, but maybe they'll like an email about this. Like that's the beautiful part. Like you can create it custom to your person, in your audience, in your people to make sure that it aligns with them. And so from there, moving them on through, and then at the end, you're going to want to transition. So you can sell to them once or twice if you'd like. If not, feel free to add more value and link over, to another resource, a thing, a social media, waitlist, call, affiliate link, whatever you'd like to do. And then after that, what you'll do is you'll transition. Now, the transition email is so incredibly important because we don't ever want our people to be on our email list, be following along with a path, and then just end up at like a dead end. Like that just doesn't work. And so what I like to do is I like to give expectations and help them transition to the next area or that next piece. And so if you have plans to send weekly emails, let them know, say, hey, like, if you haven't joined a wait list, like here's the link once more. I'm just using a wait list as an example, but please feel free. Like you can make this however you'd like. Not a problem. Like I'm going to keep showing up to you like with a monthly email, a weekly email, a bi-monthly, whatever that may be, that's going to talk about X, Y, and Z. And so when it comes to frequency, because that's something that you'll have to kind of think about and decide when you get to write that transition email, I always tell people that like weekly emails are always best. Like it's a great weekly touch point for people to be able to know, like, and trust you and see where you're at and what you're doing. But I totally understand that we don't all have time to do all the things. Like I totally and completely get it. And so, especially when we're busy, when we're, we may be managing multiple hats or multiple businesses, like it makes sense to want to use your time in like the most wise and effective like area within your world. And so if you can't commit to weekly, that is totally fine. Whatever you can commit to and do it well is what I would actually prefer that you do. So always just pick whatever it is that you can do well at, and that you can definitely do within your budget and do that for a while. See how that goes. Keep consistent with it, because your consistency and openness about how often you email your people is going to work best. And so within that, you can also ask your audience again, how they would prefer to be communicated to. If they prefer weekly emails, if they would prefer a monthly touch point, including your audience in at the conversation that they're, already invited to as a subscriber is key. It is like totally key in allowing you to be able to go through the process of being able to, again, directly relate back to them, give them exactly what they need, what they desire and want, and all of those amazing pieces. And so when it comes to the actual like email types. A lot of times what I'll do is I will use these email types sometimes for sequences, but I'll also mainly use these for kind of more so of like my weekly broadcasts that I do for my clients. And so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. So give me 1 second here and we can go through those. And if you guys have any questions about platforms or frequency or anything like that, please feel free to drop them like down below. I'm definitely more than happy to answer any of those questions that you guys have too.
I love that you call it a customer journey.
Yeah.
When I first started working with Ashley, I was really afraid of being too spammy. You know, I didn't want to spam you guys. And she really educated me and helped me understand what this is all about, and I really just love the concept of the customer journey and not just like spamming people with emails. So thank you for getting me over that.
Yeah. Oh my
I
gosh.
have a question, Ashley. Do you ever breathe?
I'm sorry.
Do you ever breathe?
She works so hard.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so real quick funny statement. So I did a talk in Montana, Whitefish, Montana. I was invited as a speaker to talk about email marketing. I didn't breathe probably for about 30 to 45 minutes during that talk. And I like hopped off the stage and my coach, he's also my mentor, he was the one that was running the event. He was like, "Can you please go sit down and breathe? Because like, I don't think you took one single breath." And I was just like, "No, I don't think I did." But my mom always told me, she was just like, "You just never stop talking." And I was like, "Well, that's why I'm in the business that I am, because I talk all the time." I mean, I write all the time too, but yeah, I talk all the time. So yeah.
So I have one last thing to say. You were probably vaccinated with a phonograph needle instead of vaccination.
Right. There is definitely a good chance. Oh my gosh. Too good. Oh my gosh. Okay, cool. Perfect. All right. So do you guys see my screen or do you see some ocean?
We see it.
Okay, perfect. Awesome. I did one talk one time with a group and they would just see pictures of my 3-year-old and they're like, you're supposed to be seeing emails. And I was like, yeah, what do you see? They're like, "We've been looking at your kid." And I was like, "Oh, isn't he cute?" So anyways, it's an all fun thing. Okay. All right. So, as I mentioned with these top 5 emails, again, these are not necessarily like copy bases that you can use, but especially for like affiliate marketing, this would work really well. There's one email type that would definitely work more so better than the others for you guys, which I'll mention, but I just want to give you all the good stuff. So that way you guys have like all the information that you possibly need and you can apply it to other ventures, other businesses, other things, all the amazingness. All right. So for the first one, we have the educational with mini mention. Now, this is going to look a lot like what I was mentioning earlier for your welcome sequence, which essentially is going to be a combination of, educating, providing value, shifting beliefs, going through the process of sharing something, and doing a mini mention of either a wait list, what you do, a social media, whatever that may look like. And so as we're going through the process of doing an education with mini mention, one of the biggest things when it comes to education that I look at, especially when it comes to email marketing, is I look at, more so specifically, like, how can I go deeper? I truly see like across the industry, like all the way around within email marketing, so many people stay surface level. And so if you can go through the process of going deeper into a topic, you're automatically going to win. Your person's going to win, and they're going to see you more so as trustworthy, as the expert, I don't want to say that, like as a leader as well too, like within being able to like provide like quality educational, like information about what you do, how you do it, and like all of that amazingness, right? So I usually like to do when I'm thinking about like ways that I can educate my audience and writing out these specific kind of emails, I'm mainly looking at like, what are the things that I could go deeper into? So like email marketing, for an example, like subject lines. People talk about subject lines all the time, but how can I go deeper into maybe the psychology behind subject lines or the structure of subject lines? Like thinking one level deeper is always going to let you win. So that's the biggest thing with educational with mini mention. And the idea and the concept of like adding in a mini mention, as you can see here, this is specifically a email that I did for a product planner or a planner product. And for them, like we just talked about like, well, this is why the product was created. And so anytime I mention the name of a product or a service or a thing, I'm always making sure that I link over to it. Always, 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 because I don't ever want someone to read this email and be like, oh, the productivity planner. Well, where's the link for that? How do I get to that? And then having to Google it, like that's not going to work. So just always linking over to it makes a huge difference. Now, one of the things you're going to notice, and I kind of alluded to this earlier that I'll mention before I forget, is, a lot of times my emails, like this is how I deliver them to my client before we put them into the email marketing system, is like all within Google Docs. But I always focus on plain text emails. We can do a logo at the top. We can add a little bit at the bottom if you want a fancy signature. I'm here for it. But other than that, like plain text emails outperform the overly graphic and created emails all day, every day. And so, adding pictures of the puppies, adding in things like, the products definitely helps. Like, especially for my businesses that I work with that are e-commerce, we do have some graphics included because I want people to see the product. I want them to be able to visualize having it and all that really good fun stuff. But don't feel like you have to overdo it. Please don't spend hours and hours and hours in Canva trying to perfect email graphics. Like your time is better used elsewhere. So just focus on getting the copy nailed down, getting the text nailed down before moving into and adding anything else to it. So this is the first one. Now, the next one is the FYI email. Now, this one here, unless you guys are doing any kind of master classes, like this is an example of one, but the way that you guys would use this specific email and this email type is by sharing quick and easy information in terms of with like puppy pickup, going through the process of sharing information on like next steps, like thinking about like this idea and this concept of this email is all about giving them short, simple information that they can easily take action upon. So in this example, I have like, this is again for a master class, but I have like, here's the deets, what, when, where, like, okay, this is how I talk. So this is like how I wrote it. But within this, like I share the what, when, where, this is like what you need to know. And then they can immediately take action. There's not, as you can see, this email is very short. There's not a lot of fluff to it. And so anytime that you can shorten your information, you're going to win. Because the thing is that when people are going, and I think about this for myself, even when people are going into their inboxes, they're looking for, what is it that I need to do? What needs my attention? And like, okay, cool. I'm in this email. Where do you want me to go? Like people need direction. And so anytime that you can provide, direction for them, you can provide them with short, simple directions. It's going to like really help you with not only just like your conversion rates, but it's also going to help with people actually taking action within your emails. So that's just like an overall note for all of them. You're going to see a long one here in a second, but for the most part, keep them short, keep them short, just keep them short. That's the best way to describe it. Okay. The next one is the connector email. Now, for this one, this may or may not work for some of you guys. So I'll just explain it and then like, feel free to take it or leave it. Like, it's not a big deal. The connector email is essentially, these are the kinds of emails I write. So this is like my main, like if you're on my email list, this is the kind of emails I write all day, every day, because for me, it's really about connecting with people on the other side. I'm a very like real life kind of person, like in terms of with how I show up in my business. If you were to follow me on Instagram, like I really just focus on connecting with people because I know that people do business with other people. And, within that, like I just always try to show up like as myself. And so the connector email is a really good way to pull back the curtain and show kind of the, like, I like to say, like, beyond the, like the Instagram filters, beyond the like perfect feed of like, what's going on, here's what's going, and like, again, connecting at a deeper level. So a lot of this type of email is going to be more so story based. This one kind of goes through and talks about, again, like some actionable items within the connector email that they can do. And then like, again, a very much so a personal closing that really makes them feel like, oh yeah, like we're BFFs now. And so, yeah, connector email is just mainly story sharing, sharing your story, sharing pieces of it. And so this would work in a really good way within like your welcome sequence. If you wanted to do a connector email about why you started what you're doing, what was your turning point? Why did you end up here? I know so many of you guys have amazing stories of like how you got to this process, like why you decided to start doing this. And so being able to pull that into your email and like create that, connection piece may also be like, oh my gosh, yeah, like, I've had that same experience happen to me, one thing I'll mention though, with these connector emails is a lot of times within this, like you get to decide how deep you want to go. Within anything within email marketing, a lot of people show up and they share their sob stories. They share like the sappy parts, like they share the good with the bad and all that. Like you get to decide how that looks. And so that's why I show you all of these different pieces, because for, personal brands, yes, 100%, like you're going to see a lot of connector based emails, but for you, it may not make sense, and so feel free to, again, share as much as you would like about your business, share as much as you want about your life. Like there is literally no right or wrong way to do this. It's just, you get to decide what that looks like, and then you can implement that moving forward. One other note that I'll mention too, that is super incredibly important is like your language and your tone as a brand. And so, I was actually on a podcast interview before I hopped on here, and we were talking about like how like infusing personality into your emails is so incredibly important. And I truly do believe that, you could still be professional and still have fun along with it. And so when you're thinking about your brand voice, as you're thinking about the language that you use within your emails, a lot of times ones that add in a little bit of humor, something a little bit different, always stand out as opposed to everybody else's. And so anytime you're sending out emails to like your leads or people who have raised their hand, adding in a little bit of personality will help you stand out. And so ways that I personally do this is I'll say things within my emails and content and stuff like that, like holy guac, I say cool beans. I literally talk and write the same way for the most part. And so, that voice carries over real easily between if you were to have a conversation with me here versus if you just saw an email from me. So that's another piece too, is like making sure that your personality also reflects within the emails as well in a way, because that's going to allow for you to be able to create that congruency within your touch points to really make them feel like, oh, okay, cool. Like everything matches and it makes sense. Okay. So number 4 is the money email. This would work pretty well for like the affiliate side specifically. And so within this is specifically for, okay, so I have to be really honest with you guys, because this is like the only group it'll make sense to actually say this to. So I actually wrote these emails for a dog academy, but I changed it to cat in order to be able to, go through the process of like, because I'll go through and like change some of the content that I share. Like if I share other people's emails that I write, like I always share, like change some of the content to it, to like keep their privacy and like all that fun stuff for like the people that I've written emails for. And so like, it really was actually a dog academy, but I changed it to cat. So I hope y'all aren't offended that like, we'll just say dog, even though it does say cat anyways. So essentially, a long story short, this one was for a dog academy, actually, canine academy. And within this, like we really wanted to focus on making it super easily accessible for people to be able to join this dog academy. And so what we did is we went through the process of really focusing on like, and it only costs $1 to get started, adding in like, again, click inside for only $1, making a reference in terms of with like Starbucks, like, you can get 14-day access. And then, for $1, that's only 4 Starbucks a month, thinking about ways that you can correlate and show the value. And then also moving through the process of being able to show how easily accessible or price comparison is so, so important. One other thing specifically within this like money email that I'll point out is testimonials. So like, here's one from like Susie. She specifically within testimonials and social proof, anytime that you can add them, the more the merrier. This email just has one, but like the more the merrier that you can add in. It's always best to add more as opposed to less. people will look at testimonials and find themselves within the testimonials itself. And so that's where it becomes really powerful, because it'll be like, oh my gosh, my dog, really struggles with basic commands. It'll be like, oh my gosh, Susie was able to do that. Maybe this would be the great fit for my dog, Pluto. Like, being able to do that makes a huge difference within being able to, sell something, and then also be able to back it up with social proof along with it as well too. So that's an example of a money email, aka sales email. And then finally, my last piece is the reply email. Now, the reply email essentially is really just focused on opening the door to all possibilities. There's no specific, I guess, like, I want to say end result with this. It's definitely more so just opening the door to be like, hey, like, how can I support you this week? I have sent this out to my email list. I've had clients send it out. I've had people send it out. People will get off this training like that I'll do, and they'll send it out. And there is just so many doors that can open when you simply just ask, how can I support you this week? And so this would be a really good email to send out to past maybe puppy families, people that you could like reconnect with, ask like, how can I support? Like how, like those are always great ways to be able to open the door. On the affiliate marketing side, it also can, open the door in terms of with being able to answer questions that people maybe have about the products that they may be too scared to ask or whatever. Like, again, when you create these really simple and short, sweet emails that, again, just really focus on being conversational and opening the door, it can just make all the difference in terms of people being able to open the door back to you in return. So those are the 5 different email types. I am going to give you guys access to this document. So you'll have access to the document. You'll have access to an additional training that I did. Well, actually, it's a total of 3 trainings in there. And it goes through like all of this on like a much, much deeper level, more specifically, like all of like, why is this specific email set up that way? Like, why did I use this language? Like all of it. And then I also go more into like relationship building emails as well within that. So I'll be dropping a link at the end with access with the coupon code for it. So that way you guys can grab it for free. It's $27 if you were just to find it like in my world. So you guys can have it totally free for hanging out with me today. So there's that. And then I think the last and final thing is subject lines. So I'll run through those super quickly with you guys. And if you want to drop any questions, feel free to do that. I would definitely love to be able to help each and every one of you, like with anything that you guys have going on, to be able to help brainstorm any ideas, anything that you need, I'm here for. But subject lines. So subject lines specifically, the way that I look at them is they're 50% the actual subject line content itself. And then 50% on the flip side is going to be the relationship that you have with your subscriber. And so when we think about like, our frequency, when we think about the language, when we think about the journey, when we think about, why we send out specific emails and when, and having these different types, it all comes back to, the experience that they're having with me. And so, a lot of times when people are going through their inbox, they're usually going one of 2 ways. They're either browsing subject lines or they're browsing people. I personally browse people. When I'm looking at my inbox, I browse people because I'm looking for like my clients or specific projects that I'm working on or whatever. Like that's how I view my inbox as opposed to subject lines. But usually people do one or the other. And so when it comes to subject lines, we want to focus definitely less on the headline based ones and instead focus on more so of the ones that are more personable, that are going to provide more conversation, that are going to really make sure that they feel like, ooh, well, what is this about? So a couple things you can do. You can definitely use like short, spunky statements. So like some of my subject lines that you saw in that document were like, hey, like that is my best subject line ever. It's just literally, hey. Asking a question, always a great thing. Going through the process of using emojis, like tastefully. Like I like to use like 1 emoji per email usually, to be able to add some interest in, to be able to pull that feeling on through. Or if, you're specifically sending out emails and you want people to make sure, like if they're in a series, you can have an emoji for the series, for an example. Like there's so many things that you can do with emojis to be able to add context or to also have like a visual cue that it's part of something. And then the other piece of it is I like to use 2 tools. So when I was first starting out doing email marketing and subject lines and stuff like that, and I really wanted to understand them better, I used a tool called subjectline.com. So it's just subjectline.com. It'll rate your subject lines and give you context as to why your subject line rated a certain way. And so that's one tool. And then the other one is actually a headline analyzer tool. And this is for more people who are like super geeky into like words and the meaning and all of that. And essentially with that one, what it does is it focuses more so on the feeling or the idea and concept of why your subject line or your headline will evoke a certain feeling, make them look a certain way. Like there's so much to it. And it just gives you different information. So that way, you know, like what that looks like for your person on the other side when you use specific words, phrasing, and things like that. One final tip with subject lines is I definitely, there's a lot of people who really stress out about the spam words because there are words that specifically will flag technically as spam. I don't usually worry too much about them. I found that like trying to like basically micromanage the words I was using was just more stressful than what it really needed to be. And so as most of the time, you're going to be fine. So don't ever feel like you have to worry too much about, trying to like avoid any specific words, because for the majority of us, we're probably not going to naturally say them anyways. Or if so, they're going to just be in a small quantity enough that it's not going to make a big difference. So those are my tips when it comes to subject lines specifically. But yeah, if you guys have any questions, feel free to drop, and I'm going to grab a drink here, but if you guys have any specific questions, let me know. I'm here for all of them.
Considered spam, like spam words?
Yeah. So a lot of times what some of them look like is a lot of times what you're going to find in your junk email. So if you're looking for spam words, look in your junk email. A lot of times what they're going to look like is sometimes percentages. So it's hit or miss for me. Percentages of like 25% off or 50% off. Like, I feel like it makes sense to give context of like what the discount is or what we're doing here. So I will use them sometimes. Sometimes I'll throw them in the preview. Sometimes I'll test it and see if it does impact the deliverability. Some of my clients, it does not. Like they have the same exact open and click rates, even like without them. But usually it's going to be more so of like the free giveaway. Like it's definitely, again, what you would find in like a junk folder essentially.
And what was the name of the headline tool, please?
Yes. So it is going to be CoSchedule Headline Analyzer.
Say that again. Can you put that in the chat?
Yes. Yeah, I will grab the link actually. So, yep. And then
Do you want me to read you the stuff in the chat?
If you would like, for sure, go ahead.
Okay. How do I approach past or existing clients and get them to sign up on my new platform?
Perfect. Okay. So yeah, so whether it's new or existing. Okay. So what you would want to do is you would want to make sure you provide them with an actual direct, clear incentive as to why they would want to get on there, right? Because they're a past client or maybe they're an existing one. So they're like, well, what's wrong with the way that we're currently doing things? So I would definitely let them know like, hey, like, by signing up, you're going to receive, additional updates or, a lot of times what people will do is they'll provide some kind of coupon or incentive, especially if it is linked to like an affiliate product that you can leverage or free samples or something like that in order to be able to do so. But I really appreciate your question. It's like specifically because a lot of times people will just add people on there and they'll be like, oh, they purchased from me, so they're on there. But you do need to provide like get that consent first and foremost before you just add people in there.
And did you mention using emails from a domain name?
Oh yeah, that's a good point. Okay, so one of the things that I see a lot of times as well too is we will just use a Gmail account or a Yahoo or pick your flavor to sign up for your email marketing account, and that's totally fine. That can be your username. But when you're actually sending emails out of an email marketing platform, you want to make sure that you use a domain name associated with it. The reason why is because And this is getting into like the deliverability side of like why your emails get sent to like the main tab as opposed to the promo tab or the spam tab, is because there's basically two sides to email marketing deliverability. There is the deliverability side that is controlled and is linked to your actual email marketing platform. And then the other side, which is going to be associated with your domain name. And so we each have, just like your credit score, we each have a sender score. So your email marketing platform and you each have your own kind of sender score. And so when you're sending an email out via Gmail, it doesn't allow for you to be able to get your own sender score because that Gmail account is actually linked, or that Gmail domain is linked to like Gmail and all the things. And so not only does it make you look like way more professional by having a domain name, it allows for you to be able to have better deliverability, and also too, it allows for you to be able to get on a really good email marketing platform, because a lot of them won't let you send out emails via just Gmail. And it allows for you to be able to, again, really control the pieces that go along with it. So yes, highly recommend it. You can just literally have your domain name and then sign up for G Suite to then be able to get those replies. And it's literally as simple as that.
And I if you don't know how to do that, I can send you a link and help you get started.
Yeah, no, it is. Yeah, it is definitely worth it. Yeah, totally, at the end of the day, for sure. And you don't even have to have like the whole website or anything like that linked with it. It can literally just be as simple as you having that domain name and then, using it for your email.
And it's $6 a month. So
yeah, super affordable. And you get Google Drive space and like all the things with it. So highly recommend it.
any other questions? You guys have questions? I don't know. I don't know. Do you have a favorite email autoresponder? It's ConvertKit. Is that your favorite?
Yes. Yeah. Yep. ConvertKit's my favorite. The second one, if you're looking for like a free option, would be MailerLite for sure.
Debbie, could you clarify your question, please? What do you mean by, is it hard or expensive to use several domain emails? You mean if you have different businesses?
If we're using a bunch of different emails for, like, if we have a bunch of different landing pages, should we be trying to use, like maybe one's associated with our affiliate links and one's associated with our puppy people that are getting a litter and one's associated with past puppies or something? Should we, is it going to get expensive if we're sending out emails for each different one, or is it better to like pick a generic email that's associated with a domain that would work for them all? Does that make any sense? Better sense?
Yeah, no, that makes total sense. Yeah. So, I think the most important thing is that if you have one umbrella that you can send everything from, it's going to make the most amount of sense for you to be able to do that, just to keep it simple. So like in your email marketing platform side, we could definitely organize it in a way where it's not super confusing or super, anything. But yeah, I would definitely recommend doing just like one, like even if it's just hi or hello or something similar, that will then allow for you to be able to use that kind of universally.
Ashley, can I have one email autoresponder account but send from multiple emails?
I know in ConvertKit you can. I am not 100% sure with MailerLite. I feel like you can. But I know in ConvertKit you can. Yeah.
So that can solve some of the problems, because I could just have one account that I'm only paying for one account, but I can operate a couple of different businesses out of there.
Exactly. Yes. Yep. 100%. Now, the other thing, the only thing I'll mention is that if you ever decide to sell your business, like let's say for an example, like if you have, for most of you guys, they're going to go hand in hand. Like if you were to sell one business, the other one would either dissipate or like dissolve, or it would kind of go along with it. So if you ever decide to sell, you just want to make sure you have very clear either tagging or segmenting to show the different sides of the business. So that way, as part of the business dealing, a lot of times they'll include email marketing and the emails associate like the subscribers and stuff with that. So yeah, just making sure it's super clear. So that way, if you ever decide to dissolve or, whatever, like, exactly what emails go along with that business.
So I just love that you are preparing us for the Google buyout, right? We're all getting bought out by Google. We're all going to make $1 billion. I love it. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like that's the biggest thing. Like I really prefer clear data because it makes my job easier in general, but also at the same time as well too, it just makes it so much simpler as well for you to be able to understand what's going on in there, what business is thriving or failing within email, like being able to navigate all that good fun stuff.
And I just want to mention to everybody that Ashley is not only fun to work with, but she's really affordable. So if you want her to help you do your emails and to set up a system for you, go ahead and contact her.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. Yeah. I mean, honestly, like I'm going to drop the link right now for the top 5 emails and all that fun stuff. So that way you guys can have it with the coupon code. But yeah, I mean, anything that I can help you guys with, please feel free to let me know. Like I'm more than happy to hop on, walk you through any of that really good fun stuff.
Drop your email in there, please also.
Oh, yeah. But yeah, there's the link. And then the coupon code is just on Ashley. So you can use that to be able to grab those emails and that product for free.
This was really awesome. Thank you so much.
Oh my gosh, you are so welcome. I always love talking about email. It's like, besides talking about my 3-year-old, that's like my second favorite thing to talk about. So.
All right. Did everybody
Ashley,
get the link? Good.
I'm sorry. Ashley, have you ever worked within Flowdesk?
Yes.
Okay, great. I have gone through the Flowdesk process of verifying my email and my domain. However, I keep showing up in junk. For people who get my regular emails. It mostly happens on Gmail users who are receiving my emails. What else can I do to not show up in junk other than to tell people to make sure they have approved me as a sender or sender.
Yeah, totally. No, that's a great question. So there's going to be a couple different variables that go along with this. So first and foremost, usually what I'll do is I will go through the process of running a report. It's called Glock Apps. So GLOCKAPPS.com. And you can do 3 of them for free. And essentially what it'll do is it'll give you an idea of if you're on any blacklists, if your sender score, like you'll be able to see it. You'll be able to look at, where you're showing up when you're sending your emails out, like where they're ending up and all of that really fun stuff. Usually 95% of the time I can usually spot what's going on and then we can fix it with the email marketing provider. Now,
okay.
The other piece of this is Flowdesk in general. I absolutely I think Flowdesk emails are beautiful and all the things. But I have known that some people do have issues with deliverability on Flowdesk. Now, this is also across the board. Like I have clients that were on ConvertKit and they're like, I'm just not getting what I was getting over here. And I was like, okay, cool. There is always a transition period, unfortunately, when you're moving platforms or when you're adding new people, there's always kind of that in-between piece. And so that's where that consistency comes in at, where you can when you start to consistently send emails, you should start seeing your open rates increase over time as people more and more people are engaging. But in your specific situation, I would run the Glock Apps report, take a look at that, see if there's anything startling. And then I would reach out to Flowdesk specifically and say, hey, this is a continual issue. Is there anything that you would recommend, anything that they you can do? Because they'll go into your account and look, they should look at what you're sending out, what your stats are, what's going on, and provide you with either some best practices or provide you with some additional pointers that should help you hopefully get out of that.
That was awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, totally. 100%.
We have another question. Are you done, Kendra? Okay, if we use a website that offers some of this, would you recommend it? For instance, Wix?
Yeah, so I know that like Squarespace, Wix, even Kajabi now, they all have email now for you to be able to send out. Yeah, you can definitely try it, like 100%. Like you're more than welcome to try it. If that is the easiest way for you to be able to use your emails to send out, go for it. Like I'm here for it. The biggest thing that you want to make sure is a lot of times what ends up happening is we'll go through the process of, using these platforms, but they don't meet our needs. Like there isn't enough segmentation or there isn't enough tagging or anything like that to be able to support. That's why I'll usually go over into an email marketing platform. But just know that regardless of, where you're at, you can always move your contacts. So if you decide, next week, you're like, oh, I don't want to be on Flowdesk anymore. I want to go to ConvertKit or ActiveCampaign or whatever that is. Like you can literally just export your people, move them over, and then move the emails over. So again, if that's the easiest way, I would rather you go for it and like start sending out those emails and all of that, as opposed to, waiting around to be able to, set something else completely different up.
And this is great stuff. There is definitely a learning curve.
Yeah.
I still stumble on tags and segments at times, but that's why I have Ashley. So, we're good.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And just try to keep it simple. I think the biggest thing is that with email marketing, it's really easy to overcomplicate, to add new things, add this funnel, do that. Just try to keep it as simple as possible. Because that's where, it's going to be a lot easier to be more consistent. Perfect. Yay. Oh my gosh, we survived. We did the things. Yay.
Thank you so much for your time and all your knowledge. This was awesome. Plus your fun too, which I just love. Fantastic. I'm going to put the recording up for people and we'll include the links and all of that good stuff. So thank you again. And thank you everybody so much for joining us. I hope you got something out of it and let me know if you did or didn't. And if there's something else you need, just holler at us and we'll try to get it for you. Thank you. Everybody.
Thank you. So great meeting all of you guys. See ya.